video is about finding sources to fulfill the requirements of your marketing plan rubric for Management 490. I'm Dawn Emsalam. I'm the Director of Library Services and your business librarian. And if you have questions after this presentation, you can Google Dawn Salve Library and you'll find my email address. So today what we're going to do is we're going to figure out a research strategy for your term project. And then we're going to look at the sources that I suggest will be most useful in finding that information. And then after this video, we're going to do an online activity, or you're going to do an online activity to practice using those sources, which you will hopefully use to actually complete your report. So first, we have to figure out what you're being asked to do. And to do that, you look at your rubric and for this assignment, and you'll see there are two items, the analysis of the external environment and the SWOT analysis. And these are what we're going to focus on today. The first step is to identify a research question. So to look at the rubric, you kind of have to separate and pull out all the different questions you need to ask. So first, the very first preliminary thing to figure out is you're looking for industry information. So you want to find out what industry your business and the business's competition represents. And you can use your own language to start, but you also want to figure out how business researchers refer to your business's industry, because this will be really important as you're moving through all of the different tools to figure out which language is most likely to quickly get you to the information that you need. And then you're going to identify your research questions. So these are what questions you need to ask to get to your information. So for example, what's the economic outlook for the industry? What are the political, technological, legal, and regulatory issues? What are social and demographic trends? And how are economic trends going to affect your customers? Then we have to determine what type of information will answer those questions. So for the economic outlook, we're looking for probably proprietary information from business analysts. This is information that expert business intelligence people are compiling and analyzing into reports. And to get this, you have to pay money, and the library pays money to get these reports in our some of our databases. And then if we're looking at all the political, technological, legal, and regulatory issues, I'm going to suggest that you find a advocacy group for your industry, because often these groups are advocating for your industry to policymakers, and they often issue reports so that people in the industry know what they should be on the lookout for. And then if we're looking for socio-cultural or demographic trends, we're probably looking for research reports by scholars and journalists. And these are probably going to be in either library databases, our article search, or think tanks. And then for economic trends, I'm going to suggest that you look for government data and analysis. So the industry-specific economic data the places I'm suggesting you go are library databases, Hoover, Statista, and First Research. I'm going to just suggest you Google your industry and the term advocacy group so that you can figure out what the industry advocacy group is. And I'm going to suggest you use the Harvard think tank search to look for think tank reports about sociocultural demographic trends. For government economic data, I'm going to suggest the Bureau of Economic Analysis. So with that, let's pop into your Management 490 online research guide, which I created, and you can access this by clicking on Library Resources in your Canvas course shell. And so we're just, by this point, you probably had some exposure to Hoover's and Statista, maybe First Research. So I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. Hoover's, if you click on it from your research guide, allows you to search either by company or by industry. So let's give industry a whirl. And let's just say we're working on like a local restaurant. If you click on that and you're doing an industry search, you're going to look down here and see the one that looks most like yours. So let's see what happens if we look at, for example, family restaurants. And this is giving a bunch of possible competitors, so this is good to look at. If we wanted to get some industry information, we're going to look at the larger industry code for restaurants and bars. And I'm hoping that there's this, if we click on this restaurants and bars, that we'll see market research reports, which are right here. Now, I don't see the US listed here, so I'm going to click on View 102 Market Research Reports. So I expanded it out. And I'm just going to sort by country and region right here because I'm really only interested in the US. And the US is at the bottom because it's alphabetical. And so here we see food service in the US, which is from October 2020, and restaurants and food service in the US, which is from February 2020. So because October was deeper into the pandemic, I'm going to click on that one. And this is a industry profile from MarketLine, which is a major business analyst organization. And it gives you bunch of information about your industry generally. So this is going to give you a bunch of information that may be helpful to your BP plan and the rubric items that relate to identifying trends and forecasts, which you could find useful. And it has a bunch of tables that will also be helpful for you. The next tool we're going to try is Statista. And for Statista, you could Google, let's say, or you could search, let's say you were looking at like a local store that does like sells athletic clothes. You could try something like athletic apparel. And you can see there's a bunch of different information here that Statista provides. I see reports, which are like right on the money because you want some really specific information. This one is from 2019. I'm not sure how much the pandemic affected it, but this will give you some information and you can download this report if you like. I'm going to, because you're probably familiar with Statista, I'm going to pop out and go into First Research. First Research has like a ton of little buttons that you have to push for some reason to get into it. But once you get into it, let's say you were looking at a yoga studio. And right now I'm going to show you how I kind of drill down by process of elimination and figure out what words to use. So that did not work. So it's not talking about yoga studios. So what's another word for yoga? What are yoga studios more broadly? They're sort of like exercise places. So exercise studio. And now I've gotten, fitness, exercise fitness, those are synonyms sort of. And now I have fitness centers. So here, if I click on fitness centers, yoga studios would fall within that if that was like the kind of business you were looking at, for example. And what First Research is going to give you is an industry overview, the growth rating, and this is all completed by business analysts. So it gives you a lot of information. You've got your competitive landscape. This even provides you with some technology stuff, information about the technology marketing. So it'll give you some ideas about marketing, and it even is telling you about regulations. So First Research is a really great tool that will give you a lot of what you need in one place. And I would definitely look very closely through here. These critical issues can help you with your SWOT analysis as well. And sometimes there's even a SWOT analysis in Hoover, so for your industry, so you can take a look there. All right, so the next tool, the next thing we're going to look for is the industry advocacy organization for the economic and the political, legal, and regulatory trends. So if we're in Google and we want to look for maybe like, again, restaurant if your business is a restaurant, and we'll say, try that, restaurant advocacy groups. And we see here restaurant.org, restaurant workers. So let's see what restaurant.org is. Issues in National Restaurant Association. So I think that's probably your advocacy group if you're a restaurant. And you can find out what kind of they have research, they have industry reports. So this can be a really great place to get information. And there's even forecast restaurant industry 2030. They may be a bit rosy because this is an advocacy organization, but again, a useful tool. Industry advocacy. Now, if we're talking about Socio, now we're talking about our customers. So we're looking for sociocultural and demographic trends because we're thinking about who we're marketing to. So if we click on this Harvard think tank, we're doing a Harvard think tank search. And if we're looking for maybe demographic trends, maybe your target market is millennials. It helps if you spell it right, but because it's Google, it fixed it. We see there's a report from a think tank, Pew Research Center, from 2019. Pew is very respected and pretty non-biased, accepted. Brookings is another think tank, skews a little bit to the left often, but respected. And so you can try different words in here, like college students, and see what happens. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This may be a economic trend among your population that you want to investigate. So you'll click on this and it'll give you a report, and you can cite it in your paper. Now, let's see. Then the last one that I think you should look at is for economic trends more generally that could affect our target customers. The Bureau of Economic Analysis, which is through the Department of Commerce at the U.S., has U.S. economic information. If you scroll down, you can see that it gets local, it gets more local. So you can look at, it will list the GDP by state and also personal income by state. So if you're doing a geographic target for your market, you can even do by county and metropolitan area, and state and metropolitan area. And they're also personal consumption expenditures. So if you click on these, you can see the changes and the highlights, and this could be useful information for you to incorporate into your report to answer those questions. So with that, I hope that you found this useful, and I hope you're totally ready to do the online activity for this assignment, which will help you get the sources you need.